Hello and welcome to a special DETV segment. I'm Kaylin Pride, and right now I'm sitting with two amazing Latina leaders in our community, and they're going to sit here and talk a little bit about a very important organization that the entire state needs to know about. So ladies, could you introduce yourself for me?
Sure, yes, thank you. My name is Yvette Santiago, and I'm currently the Director of Community Engagement at Nemours Children's Health System.
Thank you.
And I am Charito Calvachi Mateico. I am the chair of Votamos We Vote Coalition.
Votamos We Vote. Okay, because I know prior to this interview, I kept asking, I wanted to make sure I said it right. Votamos We Vote. So tell me, what is Votamos?
Well, it's a coalition. So that means that we know that in order to attain something, create a goal, we need to get together. So the most significant civil rights organizations are here together to have an impact in society, inviting people to, especially immigrants, to be engaged civically in society because they contribute already to our community, to our economy. They may as well know very well, as they already know, that they can bring people to the polls. That is Votamos.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we recognize that through establishing and mobilizing coalitions across the state, that we know that the power of the people really is unified in the voices of the members of the coalition. And so we strongly believe in that approach in addressing issues that historically could not have been addressed without that voice being represented.
Perfect. I love that you guys are trying to be that voice for the community. That's a beautiful thing. So tell me, what organizations are a part of Votamos? Well,
we are 12, so we are going to remember all of them. LCLU of Delaware, YWCA, NAACP of Wilmington, Unitarian Universalist, the Office of the Lieutenant Governor, the Office of the Commission of Elections.
Latin American Community Center,
exactly.
Common Cause.
Yes, Latino Initiative on Restorative Justice, the Immigrant Justice from the Presbyterian Church. So it's just the best of the best that are getting together to the League of Women Voters.
Yes, no, I love that. You guys have so many partnerships with organizations like LACC and just so many partners. What is it like to really kind of work with all of them and have them collectively try and promote your organization?
Well, for example, the YWCA, the LCLU knew that there is a national grant that we can apply. So we did, and now we have a beautiful Votamos We Vote, that is website votamosde.org, that people are welcome to come and have everything in English and Spanish, where to register. And especially the idea is twofold. The first one I mentioned already, immigrants are the force that are coming to bring others to be their voice. They don't have a voice in this democracy, but they are going to say to you, you are 18 now, you have already registered for the driver's license and the DMV, so now you are going to be my voice because I don't have a voice in this democracy. So the idea is that when we vote for those that don't have a voice. Right. We vote for the voiceless.
So you just mentioned the new website that just launched. Tell us what the website is, first of all, so our audience can know what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, several times, votamosde.org. votamosde.org.
It's plain and simple. So tell me, what is your goal with that particular website? I know you just talked about it being both in English and Spanish. Tell me about the importance of that a little bit and why it's important to have people from all walks be able to understand the knowledge that you guys are giving off with that website.
Yeah, so I think, with most websites, it really is to elevate the level of awareness on an electronic platform. Everyone has a tablet or a phone that they can use, and part of it, as we continue to think about how to educate folks, we know that electronic means is probably one of the most effective ways. The website is pretty easy to navigate. It talks a little bit about the organization, who's represented in that coalition, and in general resources and links for folks to continue to build their knowledge and awareness. It's just a click away to get that information.
Right, absolutely. And kind of, could you just inform me a little bit on why it's important that we have the Latina and Hispanic community go out and vote? I know you just talked about the immigrants that are coming into our country, but like, why is this such an important initiative that we really need to push, especially in today's climate?
Yeah, sure. So, Latinos represent a very large part of our population. And while we're a mix of citizens and a mix of undocumented immigrants. And so, especially here in Delaware, we account for about 12% of the population, and those are the U.S. citizens. It continues to grow. We are growing exponentially, and we contribute significantly to the economy and to all of the wonderful facets of Delaware being a vibrant state. And so when we talk about voting and why it's important to embrace the Latino voice, oftentimes we're seen as people that work very hard, but in the background, right? And we're trying to come to the forefront and really work with our leaders across the state to say, you know what, we are a part of this and we have a voice, and we want to make sure that our issues are represented, and that the people that we elect to office are people that will represent the issues that impact our children and families every single day.
And speaking of like having a voice, why is it so important to be a voice for the voiceless? That's what it sounds like this organization is really about. Why is it so important?
Because when we are the voice of the voiceless, then we bring the issues of the voiceless. And Yvette can tell you more about a legislation that will give children, undocumented children, access to healthcare. But also we need to go more and ask the legislators, for example, when they care for the Latino community, we know in both then in office, that, for example, another piece of legislation could be that people that are in the list for transplant of kidneys, they will actually get in, because now if you are undocumented, you're out of the list. And other states already have this law. So that's the kind of thing. We got, for what we did and we work hard, we got the driving privilege card legislation passed here. So those voices tell us what they need. And the choices we make when we vote reflect the results that we can get. And that's what is important.
So I want to pivot a little bit, because you just spoke about legislation, and we're going to get more into about the coalition and what it has to offer and why we need to engage, people in this community. But you mentioned, we had a talk before about House Bill 317 and the work that you were doing. Tell us a little bit about that, because you just mentioned some things about medical issues or medical legislation. Tell us a little bit about that, and then also, how does that connect with this coalition?
Sure. So, so the legislation that we're going to be talking about is House Bill 317. And it's the Cover All Delaware Children Act, and it was sponsored by Representative Krista Griffith in the House and co-sponsored by Senator Sarah McBride on the Senate side. And part of this piece of legislation was introduced last year in the General Assembly. The legislation, really the goal was to make sure that all children have an opportunity and access for medical coverage regardless of citizenship status. And so what does that speak to, right? That speaks to our kids that are undocumented, right? That have come here with their parents, right, to seek a better way of life, and unfortunately do not have the coverage that they need to, to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And we heard from many of our undocumented families of the challenges that they face every single day when they see their child going through a significant health crisis and do not feel like they get what they need because they do not have the health care coverage. And so it was introduced last session. It did not pass the General Assembly. It is intended to continue into the next legislative session, and where there may be tweaks to it to make it more improved. But our goal really is to make sure that we take care of our kids because there are children in the state, regardless of where they are from. All children deserve and need access to great health care. And one of the things when we talk about the voiceless, our children that don't have a voice, it is incumbent upon us as adults and leaders to make sure that we represent their needs and issues by the folks that we elect in office.
No, I know you just mentioned that, there's going to be some tweaks that are going to be made, but why do you think it didn't pass? This is such an important bill in my eyes, and in the eyes of many, I would hope, that are watching. I hope they think like, this is something that is necessary for children, you know, people who can't speak for themselves, the voiceless, I guess you could say. Why do you think that it didn't work out?
So that's a fantastic question, and we believe that if there was a much stronger voice from the broader community, right? We believe that there would have been a little bit more attention and pressure on this, right? It certainly was not a fiscal issue. The state received a lot of money, right, through and all the pandemic funds, ARPA funds. So usually the issue is money, right? Fortunately, in this particular case, it wasn't money, right? And so our challenges for our executive officials and our state legislators is to really dig deep and think about, you know, this is a great opportunity for them to truly represent all people in the state of Delaware. And so for us is we believe that had the voice been a little bit stronger from the community, that perhaps maybe we would have had a different outcome. That is the reason why when we say a voice for the voiceless,
Yes.
even those that are U.S. citizens do not exercise their right to vote, right? They don't understand the importance of voting and don't understand the dynamic that they're entitled to be able to vote and really elect people into office, and don't use that and don't recognize the value nor the power in that. And part of this Votamos We Vote is about educating people and letting them know, like, you do not realize the power that you have. And so so for us, we believe that as we continue to educate folks on raising and elevating their voice, that ultimately it will yield the outcomes that we need in order to have a better life for our children and families.
What are your thoughts, you know, about having the organization, or the coalition, I should say, kind of promote this bill and educate people on the importance of it for our children? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, we need to realize that when we talk about undocumented people, people are traumatized and try to live in hiding. And but they are the strongest people. They are the most obedient. They are the best. Think in the DACA recipients. They are the brilliant Americans that they should be welcomed with all their open arms. So we're talking about these people. This is the fear factor that we are saying now in Votamos We Vote. There is no such thing. You are the ones that have the capability, the desire, and the reality to elect the person that is going to vote for your child, for those that are ill, for those that need so many other things that you deserve because you contributed. It's not only that money came because of the pandemic and all that, is that they pay for it. They pay and never have a relief or receive the benefits of what they pay. They pay Social Security. When they work, they pay a lot of them for a lot of things.
Right.
They pay taxes.
Right.
Everybody that has a driving license in Delaware pay taxes. And undocumented people I'm talking about. So these people deserve to have their needs met just like anybody else. And the important thing is having this space is that we can convey other information that sometimes is even premature. We don't know. So that's why it's important. 43 million new 18 years old will be eligible to vote, citizens, Latino citizens, in this election alone. Find those 43 million, whatever number we have in Delaware, and bring them to the poll. Tell them, my life depends on you being my voice. And that's what we are promoting.
Absolutely. And I love that you guys are really trying to help the voiceless and also help immigrants that are coming into this country, because let's be real, this country was built on the backs of immigrants. That's what the United States of America is about. So I really love the work that you're doing. And after this break, we're going to dive more into what the We Vote Coalition is doing. We'll be right back.
Government doesn't make a move without an agenda, some type of plan. The problem is we haven't been on the agenda. Sometimes we're overlooked. Sometimes our interests aren't the interest of those in power. I'm your host, Kerwin Gaines, on DETV's new show, The Agenda. We're going to do our best to ensure that you, Delawareans, are knowledgeable about what's going on in the Assembly, federal government, local government, it doesn't matter. We're going to do our best to ensure that folks that make the agenda on a daily basis have to answer for it. Let them explain what they're doing. If it affects you, it's on the agenda.
Welcome back. We're going to continue this important conversation on the Votamos, that's it, all right?
Votamos
We Vote Coalition. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what has the coalition done so far to engage people to kind of join or, be a part of it. Tell me a little bit about what the work that you guys are doing in the field.
In the ground, we have been canvassing to neighborhoods that usually don't get involved and talk about the issues they are facing, like a community in Seaford is facing a proposed methane gas plant. So we said, if you don't get involved, if you don't bring all your children to vote and elect the right person, this may pass. So that's what we have done. And what do? We connect with Poor People Campaign of Delaware and unite forces, we unite money in order to bring the DACA recipients that are so active, and they go and knock in the doors, very, very caring for what they are doing. So that's the kind of thing that happens when you have a coalition. You chip in and bring the force, the people in order to do those type of things. And that's what one of the things we have done. We have been on TV. We have used the social media of amazing people like La Central with Laura Leos that is the Latina. She won an award because she has 70,000 Latinos following her. So we gathered the resources from the community and we have been there. We have created the websites. But people should go and just put their names so we'll keep them updated because there is a lot of questions. They can register there. There is a lot of things that they can ask the questions and see themselves in that website because that's the website where they can see each other. And we have written articles, editorial, you name it. We have displayed everything that we can and we have text. And we have created social media groups and Facebook, of course, and all that.
Mm-hmm. And then the only thing I will add to that is, we, as Charito mentioned, there are 12 organizations represented on Votamos We Vote. And if anyone goes onto that website and has a question, they could reach out to any one of those 12 organizations. They are a part of the coalition, and they're happy to answer whatever questions anyone may have related to that.
Perfect. And then you mentioned it twice now, and I was like, it popped in my head. You talked about DACA students, and I know that there are a good amount here in Delaware. I'm a graduate of Delaware State University, the only HBCU to accept Dreamers to their school. And I actually have a lot of good friends of mine who actually work in media alongside me that are Dreamers and DACA students. So does your organization work very well with the ones that are here in our state?
Absolutely. As I said, we go knocking in doors with them. We take flags because this is an exercise of happiness like it is in our countries. Original country usually is a Sunday, so you are going to see the whole neighborhood. And also it's that you don't have to be begging for people to register. You become registered when you become 18. So we also bring the idea that real democracy needs to be easy. The moment that you get all this law that you have to do this and you cannot register these days and that, that's called suppression, and that should not exist. And we should get rid of all those laws. But that's when we get together in Votamos We Vote, we talk about those things that are very, very important. And another effort that we have done with LCLU Delaware is that they got a person dedicated to find Latinos who are citizens that can vote, that are registered to work in the polls. Because when you see a face, a familiar face that say, how can I help you? ¿Cómo le ayudo in Spanish? Then, you feel that that machine is not that intimidating and I can do it. There is so many people say, this is my first time, Charito, what I'm going to do. And if I said, don't worry, there is somebody who speaks English, Spanish for you, a Latino. And so if you are, if you have your audience listening to me, I said, contact LCLU Delaware, call them and say, I want to be a voter a worker, in the polls, and they are paying 190 to 235. The commission is invested in having diversity in the polling places. So
you just mentioned the polls. So I want to ask, are you getting Latino people into the polls to work? Tell me about the workers. Tell me about that.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. No before than now, in the many years that I've been involved with this coalition and also with elections, there have been this effort from the Elections Commission to actually hire Latinos, bilingual U.S. citizens that will work and be paid well for a day of patriotic work in the polls. So it's open now. They can do it more than ever. They want you. If you are bilingual, they want you, because that would have made a very big difference in my life when I was 30 years ago. And instead I found a very angry person saying, and I see the difference when I can say, am I in the right place?
Yeah.
Or what do I do this machine? I have been in the polls where Latinos have said, I don't know, if I get inside that curtain, I don't know what to do. And I have been allowed, because they want me, to go there and actually point, you want this, then click here. Because that is important, that they want. And so many times they elected the wrong president, but I did what they wanted, and that makes the difference, you know?
And, you just talked about your own personal struggles, years ago when it was you doing it. But, do you think that with the Latino workers in the polls, do you think the language barrier, is it harder? Is it easier now? Do you think it's helping? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, we would hope that if the Department of Elections is really targeting bilingual workers at the polls, that they're then positioning them and placing them in polls where a Latino population is going to be, right? And so making sure that is very intentional, not just hiring bilingual workers and then just putting them wherever, but really positioning them so that in those polling locations where you will see a higher amount of Latinos coming to that site, that it would make sense to have someone there bilingual. But we know there's barriers. It's not perfect. But this is really the reason why, we continue to talk about these issues at the state level, because I think sometimes we get caught up in our daily lives and really don't recognize that really just small gains can make a huge impact. And we believe that even just hiring the bilingual workers and positioning them strategically in the right locations will enable this to be a successful effort.
Yes. Absolutely. So I know we talked about how getting Latino people out to vote is important for their community and their issues, but how does this affect all of us as a whole? Talk to me about that.
Every time that, for example, let's take the piece of legislation that was about driving privileged cars for those undocumented that actually passed, because they were there in the balcony, filling the balcony, showing we need it. We need you to vote without saying a word, with their presence. And guess who benefited? You benefited. The legislators benefited, because when they are in the road and they see a Latino on that side of the other of the road, that Latino has passed the same written test, driving test, eye test that they passed, and they feel more confident. So their duty is to create public safety. That legislation creates public safety for all. Now, if we pass, because we will pass, this law that Yvette is promoting about 5,000 undocumented children being able to receive no health care when they are with appendicitis or a destroyed kidney. No, when they can prevent and grow and be healthy, the whole society has to spend less in this type of treatments and operations, and they will have a happy child that will be a better citizen. So we all benefit when we do the right thing for society.
That's correct. I couldn't agree with Charito more on that. The saying of we're better when we're stronger together. And if we're all looking out for each other's best interests, whatever that may be, that if we're in it together to make sure that we're all doing the right thing for all of the right reasons, then we're going to be in a much better place as a state, all the way around, from the economy to education to employment to all of those things that that each year we really benchmark ourselves on being a great state.
Absolutely. And so I want to ask you, you're here today with us to talk about the coalition, but what's the real, just straight, concise, to the point message that you want people to know from listening today?
Well, the big picture for me, 43 million new eligible voters are Latinos. We have a contingency of them in Delaware. Let's bring them to the polls to be the voice of the voiceless, because we all have to make a better democracy every time, and we have our part to play in this future.
Absolutely. Exercise your right to vote.
Right. And so with having your right to vote, how do you guys get people who aren't eligible involved regardless? How can we do that?
Yeah, so I think that, that's really one of the goals of the coalition, right? Education and awareness continues to be the top priority. Talking to folks, making sure that people feel comfortable to reach out to others that can help them understand perhaps maybe issues that they're facing, right? And so if we're not enabling each other to speak to one another about the issues, then we fall short. So at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, right? Is educating everyone, educating each other, understanding the issues and understanding how that impacts us as an individual, as a voter, but even broader as a state and a community. If I can't understand your issue and how that impacts me and the broader community, then we have a major problem. And so that is the reason why we've really got to talk about it, and we've got to share those experiences and understand how we can make it better.
Yeah, and we have, in order to put this in practice, we have in Votamos We Vote website other links. And one of them that is very, very important is the one of the League of Women Voters, the 411. 411 information means, if it is from the League of Women Voters, means I'm going to tell you for who are the people that are running in your district. I'm going to tell you what they think about whatever you care. And also, which is very, very decisive, is who did not answer that question. Who are the ones that want to be our legislators and representatives that did not answer those questions? Then you wonder that absence speaks volume. So both for those that went to the League of Women Voters, and the LCLU too has another questionnaire. So those that did not answer their questions, you wonder for who they are working, for the people that the LCLU and the League of Women Voters are addressing? Maybe not. Maybe they are for corporations. So you decide. We don't tell you for whom to vote, but we give you the tools in Votamos We Vote that you can click and put your zip code, and they will tell you these are the ones that want your vote, and this is what they think. Do you like them? You decide.
I think that's great that it's broken down like that, because honestly, it can be hard for a lot of people to really, having to do, of course, their own research. It's important, but knowing specifically what exactly was said, when, and how they feel about certain issues in our community is important. And it helps, like you said, you guys don't want to, tell them who to vote for. You want to make sure that they are able to have their own opinions. But I think it's great that you guys have that resource that allows them to do that for themselves. I think that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And what I can say is that, this I can say, look for the issues. Look for the issues beyond the color of the skin, because identity politics doesn't work anymore. I had a Latino senator that voted against the students, residents, but no citizens, receiving a tuition as residents. Without that law, they have to pay it as international. Their parents paid taxes. And this Latino senator, Bernie Lopez, that now is no longer going to be our senator, but that is history and his legacy. He didn't vote for the children they're supposed to represent because he was a Latino in a district where the Latinos are. So let's go beyond identity politics. What is your staff? And your step is when you answer these questions that we wanted from you, whether you answer or what did you answer, then you vote for that person.
Yeah, no, I think I like that you kind of brought up, like, it doesn't, well, I'll say this, I think a lot of people often vote just by who the person is or what they may look like. And I think it's important that you just mentioned, like, don't go by that, go about what their mission is, think about what they're advocating for and their issues, as you said. Thank you. But I love that. I think that's very important. So I know you guys keep mentioning the website, but are there any other resources that people should know about when it comes to the coalition?
Well, when it comes to the coalition, we have the big picture, VotamosDE.org, because then you are going to find connections with the League of Women Voters that I told you, because Votamos We Vote didn't have to create another questionnaire. They did it. So they are amazing women. And also LCLU create another one. So you'll find all those and then you can register there. Unfortunately, you have to continue registering, but you cannot vote. From now on, you can vote if you're registered now. However, it's good that you register anyhow. And those registered, as you were saying, those that register on time, I want to see you in the polling places. Why? Because you are not voting only for you. You are voting for those that don't have a voice, and we need you.
That's right. And Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th, and make sure people get to the polls and have a plan to get there. If you don't have a car and you need a car and you need transportation, ask a friend or a neighbor or someone to take you if that is an issue. So think about the barriers ahead of time. And try to address those barriers so that you can get out and vote.
Yeah, and actually, see, in our flyer, we were saying that if you don't have a car, I give you a ride.
That's right.
You, undocumented person that cannot vote, you give them a ride. If you have to cook, I'll bring you the food. If your children have to be taken care of, I'll take care of their children.
I just have to say, we have to wrap it up, but I love your passion. I think it's absolutely amazing. We need more people like you both, honestly, within our community to get people up, to get people out, and to get people to vote. And that is what your organization is all about. So thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this interview. It was very informative. And I hope for the viewers who are watching that you all were able to get something out and really understand what Votamos, right? Votamos We Vote is all about. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.